episode 61 of the podcast. This one's for the owners and the pros who work with them. This week I'm going to cover some common things, phrases, and concerns that I find the average pet owner struggles with. If you have ever said, "He won't let me," but she doesn't like it. I've tried everything. The last person told me something different, or that's why I'm coming to you to do it for me. Then this episode is for you. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. This week is more for the owners, because I know there are some owners on here. I send my owners on here, so hopefully some of you are also. But I'm going back to some more basic things, because I think that I want owners to be able to understand more of what we're talking about, and it helps all of us as professionals communicate our ideas to owners. Some new ideas, you might catch something that helps you communicate to the next owner that has an issue. So let's start with, "He won't let me," or "but she doesn't like it." These are things I often hear. And the problem is that this owner, the person who's saying those, "he won't let me," or "but she doesn't like it," is often doesn't yet know that they have a significant problem starting. Because the dog who won't let, or doesn't like, or refuses is also a dog who may be afraid of your touch. That same dog might not handle it well when something needs to be done, such as caring for an injury, giving medication, or helping with anything scary. So those owners often find help after something pushes the issue, after a dog really starts to have an issue. Maybe it's I had to get ear medication in, and then I found out not only won't he let me, or she doesn't like it, but she's really over the top about it. Okay. Over the top, how the dog expresses how they won't like it or they won't let you could be a variety of things. It could be the dog who shuts down. It could be the dog who curls up or runs away. It could be the dog who growls. It could be the dog that shows some sort of aggression. Those are all big problems that could be hiding in plain sight, but that many owners don't recognize as a significant problem. Your dog should feel comfortable with you touching them anywhere. And if they aren't, that's something significant that we need to work on for your own safety and for you to be able to care for your dog's health and well-being. So many owners don't know how to handle it when a dog isn't cooperative. And you may find yourself in one of these two major categories. All right, there's certainly a whole bunch of options, but I find that most owners are on one of these two extremes. One extreme is as soon as your dog starts getting a little bit antsy, starts trying to show you the "he won't let me" or "she doesn't like it," then what happens is one set of owners will stop and let go because their dog is uncomfortable. And then the opposite side, the opposite choice that I see just as frequently is the other group will be stern about it and force the dog to do it. So on the surface, each of those choices sounds like a pretty good idea. What could possibly go wrong, right? Like, well, it's got to get done. I don't want my dog to be scared is the one group. And the other one is, I'm sorry that you're scared, but I got to get this done. This is for you, right? Here's the tricky bit. And pros, listen up, because I can tell you right now, the tricky part of that is that each of those two general groups can see the flawed logic of the opposite technique. So it's important for us as professionals to know which end of that spectrum our customers are starting at. Because the people who initially see their dog start getting a little bit nervous and stop and let go, those folks are concerned about making their dog uncomfortable, and they want their dog to trust them and know that they're safe with them. Whereas the be stern and get it done folks think that that is spoiling and babying dogs. Now, the be stern and get it done folks want their dog to be comfortable with them doing anything and everything that must be done, but the stop and let go folks think that pushing the dog, even if it's scary or traumatic for the pup, right? Now, the stop and let go folks think that those dogs are being mean to their dog. So I want you to think about that. Like they're both kind of right and they're both kind of wrong. Clear as mud, right? So the methods that I use, have success with, and encourage others to try is somewhere in the middle of what really are those two extremes. So I want to guide everyone to encourage their dogs to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. That will look different for every dog, but the guideline stays the same. So as an owner, you know what to look for if I tell you you want him to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative, right? You're going to be able to see that in your own dog. You're going to be able to say, oh, he's now no longer calm. You might not know how to get there. That's okay. There are plenty of times where you're going to need a professional to help you. But I want you to think about just letting go isn't encouraging calm. Forcing him isn't encouraging calm, right? Just letting go isn't going to help him be comfortable. Forcing him isn't going to help him be comfortable. Just letting go isn't teaching cooperation, and forcing him isn't teaching cooperation. We want our dogs to feel safe with us, but letting go and stopping when they're uncomfortable isn't a long-term solution. Releasing and ending when a dog becomes uncomfortable can send the wrong message. It can make a situation where the dog expects you to not do that again, and it can be very frustrating to a dog if you keep trying to do the thing again. So when that frustration comes out is often when they are at the vet or at the groomer. So an owner who always lets go may not even know that how their dog manages stress, how their dog will respond if someone pushes a little bit further than their dog's comfortable with. So I often hear, I don't know what happened. He was at his groomer and apparently he wasn't really good there and I don't know why. Or he wasn't really good at the vets and I don't know why. Sometimes it's because we've told him, as soon as you are uncomfortable, everybody lets go. But in the middle of a medical procedure, if a dog decides they're uncomfortable, oftentimes they can't let go. If you're in the middle of bandaging a dog, you can't let them run out of the room. If you have a dog in the tub and he's all soapy and that's when he figures, you know what, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this, we have to continue rinsing. So sometimes that dog doesn't know how to deal with stress, and because their owners haven't calmed them down or kept them comfortable, have told them like, oh, as soon as you give me your signal, we let go. Now we have a dog that could do something pretty aggressive or could become terribly, terribly frightened. So dogs express their discomfort in different ways because they're all individuals. And what seems to stay the same in my experience is that whatever actions they take to express discomfort, growling, lunging, biting at the or the opposite, trying to get away and curling into a little ball and shivering, whichever version your dog may show will increase if it always works. If it always works, that's going to increase. If it makes you stop whatever they were uncomfortable with, it will continue. The dog may show more aggressive displays. The dog may show increased fear. So I want you to think about neither of these is a dog who is learning to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Aggressive displays are a dog who is uncomfortable, right? He's not trying to give you a hard day. He's having a hard day, right? So the other extreme is when we want our dogs to allow us to do whatever needs to be done around them, for them, But if we're forcing a dog who isn't ready, isn't calm, or isn't willing, it can make a situation where the dog shows increased signs of discomfort, avoiding you, fighting against you, curling into a tight ball, shaking, shivering, showing aggressive displays, right? This will make the problem worse because they're trying to tell you they're not enjoying this. They're having a hard time. They're trying to get you to stop and you just keep pushing. So they start showing more signs. They're like, my God, this person doesn't understand how uncomfortable I am. I will really drama this whole thing up. How's that for tech talk? I'm going to drama this up, right? They go into this overly exaggerated version of what they were doing a minute ago. Like, how can you not understand that I'm uncomfortable with this, right? So, my dog owning friends, where does this leave us? Now, I want you to think about observing your dog. What does your dog do to show that they're uncomfortable? Your dog is an individual. Your situation is individual. What does your dog do to show that they're uncomfortable? And figure out where their discomfort, fear, nervousness, etc. shows up. When are they comfortable and when are they uncomfortable? Like, what makes them uncomfortable? Is it, for some dogs, it could be touching near an ear. For some dogs, it could be picking them up. I want you to think about where uncomfortable happens, because your dog is an individual. Your dog is different. And then we're going to find the spot where they are still comfortable, because there's always something that they're still comfortable with. So for a dog who's nervous about their feet, I think that we tend to go right for the feet. And I would caution you against that, because they're telling you they're not comfortable with their feet. But, you could start at their shoulder and work your way down, right? What if they're really comfortable with their shoulder and you start working your way down? That turns into a situation where they're now learning how to be comfortable, and we're expanding their comfort zone. And we can back up a little bit. If they become mildly uncomfortable, we can back up a little bit. But they're learning that they can trust you instead of just letting go or instead of just forcing it. We want each dog to find their comfort level with us as owners. If your dog isn't comfortable with you as their owner, the person who snuggles with them on the sofa, it's really a stretch to expect them to be comfortable with other people. Now, there are plenty of dogs that I groom who will let me do anything and they won't let their owners do it. But you know what? I had to build that. I had to build that over a long time. And I think you'll find that a lot of us have, a story of a dog who is great for other people but not for their owner. But that's because somebody else really built on it. And I'd like owners to build on it too. And if for no other reason, it's just a safety for your dog and for you, because your dog lives in your house. At some point, you are going to have to take poison out of your dog's mouth, right? Something that they can't have, something that's dangerous, and take it out of their mouth. At some point, you're going to have to check an injury. At some point, you're going to need to help your dog with a physical problem. So I want you to be very aware that what you do at home is really important. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. In this part, I want to talk about some really common things that I hear owners say. One of them, you're an owner, and you might have feel like this one. Do you feel like you've tried everything? I've tried everything. You're frustrated. You're trying to figure out, how can this possibly not be working? I have tried everything. And I want to reassure you, don't worry. I can assure you that you haven't tried everything. There are so many options. Every day, someone, somewhere is coming up with something new to try. And I'm going to be pretty bold here, but I haven't tried everything. So that means the average Joe hasn't tried everything. In fact, most of the pros who seem to have an endless supply of information know that they haven't tried everything. They're out there trying to come up with new ways to do it. So what's really important is that if you feel like you've tried everything, I want you to backtrack and really gather some understanding of your individual dog's problem, because that will help guide you to a solution that works for your dog. And that's something I see a lot with owners. They're like, well, I tried this piece of advice and I tried this piece of advice, but many of those pieces of advice given in good faith by somebody else with a different dog don't work for your dog's problem. And actually, when people contact me for training, one of the biggest things that we do is just help them understand what their problem is. And I find that is something that a lot of trainers don't spend enough time on. So if you're trying to solve a problem by following all sorts of random instructions instead of really looking at what your dog does, what your dog is uncomfortable with, and looking for solutions that will help your dog. Okay? Most people who are trying everything don't truly understand their issue, the how and why of their dog's behavior. So they're just grabbing at anything. Like, oh, I'm here at the library, and what does it say to do if your dog does this? I'm going to, okay, turn to page 57. Okay, I can do that, right? Turning to page 57 is going to help a handful of people, right? Maybe it will help most people. But if you feel like you've tried everything, it's just that you haven't found the thing that works for your individual dog. Understanding your dog first, then find solutions for your individual problem. And that's where contacting professionals should be really, really helpful. Okay? You should be able to say, hey, my dog gets nervous when, this is what he does when he gets nervous. This is when he gets nervous, right? How can I work on this? And owners, if you're listening to this podcast, you're already the kind of owner who can probably understand that getting somebody to help you with your individual dog is really important. But also, if you need to find a professional, I want you to be thinking about, what do they know about your problem? Ask them, what do you do if my dog is incorrect? What do you do if my dog is correct? How is this going to play out? What can I expect? How long, should I be working on this? Because it's really individual. And you should be looking for a professional who asks you a bunch of questions. When people ask me a question, I start in with a whole bunch of questions. I pull out a notebook and I just start taking down all their information, the things that they offer to tell me, and start asking them questions about the things that they gave me. That's what I want you to be thinking about doing. Like, I want you to find that professional who's going to say, okay, no, let's talk more about this. What does he do at home when you try to trim his nails? Okay, and then what happens? And then what happens? Okay, so that you don't have to feel like you've tried everything. So that you don't have to feel like nothing is going to work for your dog, because something is going to work for your dog. Something is going to work. All right. And it may not be that he's going to be, a perfect angel and totally comfortable with his whole life, but a healthy dog can be taught to be a safe dog. And that's what I want for you. All right. Here's another one that I hear pretty often. The last person couldn't get it done. So I hear that. And sometimes that's, they went to a grooming shop and they said, hey, you know what? He is really, really out of control for his nails. We're not going to be able to do this today. But sometimes owners just hear that part, or sometimes a grooming shop might have just given them that part. But the second half of that conversation should be, this is what we're going to need to do to get it done in the future. This is what we're going to need to do to continue on, and that it's not about getting the nail trim done all together today if your dog is having a hard time with it. So it's not necessarily that a professional has refused. So ask them. If they said, we couldn't get it done today, ask them, does that mean that we need to work on this more with you? How is this going to work? Or ask them, are you refusing in sending him someplace else? Okay. Because I think sometimes we're really, really quick to say they couldn't get it done. I guess I have to go someplace else. And that's not really the case. And if you do go someplace else, tell them every bit of information you know about what happened when it couldn't get finished. Okay. Next thing that I hear pretty often is, you try to give a piece of advice or say what you're going to be doing as a professional, and the owner says, the last person said something different. Okay, I hear you, and I understand that you're frustrated. So if the last professional told you something different, as a fellow professional, I am going to ask you, okay, what did they say? And have you been following their instructions? What kind of results are you getting? Is it staying the same, getting better, getting worse? Did you follow through with what they said? How did it play out? Have they offered a couple of things? Like, do they know that their instructions didn't help? Have you followed up with them? Because I don't throw other professionals under the bus. Like, I want you to be able to say, all right, we'll talk to her, so and so over at the other grooming shop, and say, all right, this isn't helping right now, or the trainer, like, this isn't helping, things don't seem to be improving, and give them the chance to sort it out for you. Because many, many, many professionals have a wide variety of things we can try. If the first way doesn't work for your individual dog with your individual dog's problem, there are other things to try. Or they may say, I know exactly who I want to send you to. And that's good too. I want professionals to help our owners find the resources they need to be successful. Okay. Now I know why owners get really, really frustrated, because there's another one too that I hear is, how do I work on this when even the professionals seem to be contradicting each other? Now I'm bringing my dog to someone for them to get it done for me, and they're telling me I need to do training, but I'm bringing them to you because I need them done, and it just circles around, right? Professionals don't necessarily do things in the same way. Working with dogs is a lot like working with kids. And I'm going to draw a parallel here, even if it seems very anthropomorphic, like I'm making dogs sound like children. But I'm going to draw a parallel here because every individual is very, very different. And what works for one might not work for another one. And if you really wanted to work with an individual and help them with their problem, you need to get to know them. And you need to have a wide variety of experiences. So some of us as professionals are really pretty intuitive about it. I would say earlier in my career, I would get like an intuitive hit, had a feeling, right? And then later, as I progressed and learned more about behavior, what I realized was that I was catching on to some very clear physical signals that I hadn't yet identified in my own mind. But there were clear physical signals. Now I can see it as that wasn't intuitive at all, just that I had a pretty good grasp of what a dog was trying to show me. Because the dogs want us to know how they feel. They're trying to show us the entire time, like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, or I am comfortable with that, or I'm trying, right? So when you think about every teacher out there who teaches kids, they all have a slightly different feel for the way they do their work. And some students love a teacher that other students didn't jive with, right? So I want you to be thinking about, professionals may sound like they're contradicting each other, and in some cases we really are. There are definitely two schools of thought out there, which is very similar to the owner ones that I gave in the past, in the first part. In the first part of this episode, where they're like, just get it done, or, oh, just stop, right? You're also going to find trainers like that. You're going to find groomers who are like that too. But most of us, I think, ride right in the middle of, let's figure out what makes this dog tick. Let's figure out how to get this dog to be comfortable with it. Okay. There are a lot of people out there who aren't yet aware that we can teach a dog to be comfortable with it. But we can. And that might sound really, really bold, but I do believe, in my experience, and I've been doing this for a long time, I do believe that a healthy dog can be taught to be a safe dog. They can be taught that this is going to be safe, be good, you're fine. They might not enjoy it, but you know what? I trust my dentist. I think they are wonderful. I trust them, but I don't crave going. And some of the things that we ask our dogs to do, like going to the groomer or going to the vet, are a little bit like a dentist visit. Like, this is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not going to like the whole thing. But you know what? Feeling safe is super important. Being able to respond safely is super important. So owners, I feel your frustration. I feel why you're having trouble and why it's so hard to try to find the professional that's right for you. Or find someone who's going to take the time for you to communicate your needs. But I'll tell you what, I've got a bunch of listeners on this podcast who are trainers and groomers and vet techs and vets who would like to delve deeper into those things, who would want you to give them as much information as possible. right? So I want you to think about finding people to help you with your individual dog's issue. And if you need to, you can go to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. There's a Facebook group, there's a Facebook page. You can contact me directly. But I want to help people. That's why I do this podcast every week, right? That's why I want to speak at conferences. That's why I've spoken at 2 conferences already. That's why I want the grooming, training, and veterinary medical professionals to support owners and help them find their individual solutions to meet their individual needs. And it doesn't need to be something very, very complicated. It just needs to be the right fit for your individual dog. This week's action step is to look at an individual dog. Maybe it's your dog, maybe it's a customer's dog, but look at one individual dog and think about what makes that dog tick. What makes that dog uncomfortable? What is that dog comfortable with? And how do they express their discomfort? If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.